Good morning and welcome to the TRISTEL PLC investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to Liz Dixon, CFO. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you and welcome to TRISTEL PLC's interim results for the 6 months to 31st December 23. So those of you who are not familiar with the business, our company is an infection prevention company. We focus upon the hospital and we have a unique proposition, a unique chemistry, chlorine dioxide that has a specific formulation that's proprietary to us, which is woven into all of our products to produce two outcomes within two areas of the hospital under two separate brands. The first is our TRISTEL brand, which focuses upon the decontamination of medical instruments by hand. So we apply our chlorine dioxide chemistry in the form of a wipe or a liquid or a foam to a medical device to reprocess it between patient use. The second division of the business comes under our CASH brand, and this product range applies the chemistry to hospital surfaces to enable disinfection at the highest level of chemical disinfection possible, which is referred to as sporicidal efficacy. And we weave into the CASH product range sustainability features that make the product very attractive to hospitals. Our business is simple, it's focused, and we believe it has a global opportunity. The two product ranges provide multiple revenue sources within the hospital. Under the TRISTEL brand, we do perform in excess of 20 million decontamination procedures every year. And they take place through multiple departments where our products are used to reprocess multiple medical devices. And here we show for you the departments that we predominantly focus upon and the medical devices that are found within those departments. And for the first time, we give you the split of revenue that is applicable to each of those areas. And as you can see, ultrasound via transvaginal, transrectal and skin surface ultrasound probes is the largest portion of our revenue, followed by ENT, nasendoscopes, cardiology, and so on down the list. With the CASH range, our products are used hospital-wide, and they're used to disinfect the types of surfaces listed here: bed mattresses, IV poles, trolleys, commodes, and also floors and walls and general high touch points within the hospital. And this is a much smaller element of our overall business, but we do have the great advantage that we sell products throughout the hospital, which gives us great depth and breadth to the business. Financial highlights for the period that we're reporting upon. Well, we think this is actually a really fantastic set of results. We're delighted. We've achieved 20% growth in turnover, hitting a record level of £20.9 million, and it's the best 6 months we've ever had. The overseas sales that we have made during the 6 months increased by 13%, up to 12.7 million. And this was driven by our international distributor business, which performed particularly well, as did our European operations. We're reporting EBITDA up by 21% to 4.7 million and adjusted EBITDA up 18% to 5.4 million. And we adjust by share-based payments. We believe it helps investors and shareholders understand the underlying profitability of the business if we add back this cost, which is a variable and to a large degree out of our hands. So adjusted EBITDA up 18% to 5.4 million and giving a EBITDA margin of 26%, which is above our internal target. Reported profit before tax increased by a very pleasing 44% to 3.4 million, and adjusted profit before tax up by 34% to 4.1 million. Again, it's the highest profit we have ever reported in any 6-month period. EPS increased by 104% to 6.5 pence per share, helped by a tax rate of 10%, a reduction on last year as a result of the impact of share-based payments on deferred tax and the volatility of our share price. Adjusted EPS increased by 87% to 8.68 pence per share. We've doubled our interim dividend to 5.24 pence per share, in line with our revised dividend policy, and this will be paid on the 12th of April with an ex-dividend date of the 21st of March and a record date of the 22nd of March. We had cash and deposits of 10.8 million at the end of December, and we have no debt. Some of the operational highlights of the 6 months include the first manufacture and launch of TRISTEL ULT standing for ultrasound, into the United States ultrasound market. I'll talk about that more as we go through the presentation, but it is a very exciting time for us to finally be launching the product that has taken us a number of years to achieve approval for in the USA. We also achieved approval for the same product with Health Canada post-period end. So now we have TRISTEL ULT available for sale throughout the 2 countries, US and United States and Canada. And just last week, we received approval of our from the EU medical device regulation legislation of our cash tank and capsule product. So this is part of our cash range, surface disinfection with sustainability at its core. And finally, we have received approval for that. So a fantastic set of approvals as our operational highlights, and most certainly paving the way for future revenue growth. So talking of revenue growth, this is our 10-year half-on-half sales growth record. The 6 months that we're focusing upon here demonstrate 20% growth, and the source of that is 1.9 million came from pricing increases and 1.5 million came from volume increases. Around the world, we have 14 subsidiaries, wholly owned subsidiaries, which contain their own TRISTEL employed salespeople, and there are 60 plus salespeople within the business. And we also have a portfolio of international distributors, which we use to address the young and growing markets. And often we bring those distributors in-house. So we have acquired over the years 7 different distributors who were particularly well performing. But in this set of results, our international or third-party distributors achieved the highest level of growth within the entire business of 43%, which is really encouraging for us because it demonstrates that in these younger markets, the same thing is happening as has happened in the early stages of our direct sales teams. We are achieving high growth rates. In particular, we've noticed that the Middle East is a very encouraging area for us. Saudi sales grew by 230,000 of that 600,000 growth. Spain increased by over 100,000, and Ireland, the UAE, all really strong contributors to our distributor growth number there. We also saw good growth from Europe, 11% coming out of Western Europe. That's the set of companies that we acquired in 2018. Within Central Europe, which is based out of our Berlin office, we achieved 14% growth. And in Italy, under the Southern Europe banner, we achieved 17% growth. So very encouraging for us that there's still a lot to go for here within Europe. And of course, within the UK, we're reporting here 30% growth. So again, very encouraging for us. New and increasing number of customers, our procedure numbers are up, and our market penetration continues to increase. Asia has been a bit of a conundrum for us. So China, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, flat during the 6 months. The underlying mechanics of that are that our medical device business grew, but our cash surface product sales declined very slightly. The reason we think is down to pricing, but with the recent approval of tank and capsule, we believe that we can go back into those hospitals in Asia, demonstrate the product and offer it at a lower price, which enables us to get back on a growth trajectory within Asia. So sales growth by portfolio and channel is shown on this next slide. And as you can see, the driver of growth came from our medical device decontamination segment, and cash sales slipped back very slightly, as I mentioned. But overall, it's very pleasing to see 20% growth for the entire portfolio. So North America. Well, the next 4 slides contain a lot of information. I'll try and walk you through it so it's all fairly clear. As a reminder, TRISTEL ULT is a high-level disinfectant for endocavity probes. They're probes that enter a natural orifice of the body, and skin surface transducers, those that we may be more familiar with, that run over the surface of the skin. The product has been approved by both the FDA and Health Canada now. We estimate that there are 50 million ultrasound scans performed within North America, which require high-level disinfection annually. That translates to $100 million of combined revenue for TRISTEL and our partner in the United States, Parker Laboratories. We receive a 24% royalty on all the sales that Parker make into the hospital market. So it gives you an idea of the market opportunity for TRISTEL within the US on this single product. The incumbent market leader in ultrasound is a machine. It's a company called Nanosonics, and the machine is a trophon machine. Not all ultrasound probes can fit inside it, and in those instances, hospital clinics have to find an alternative decontamination method. The alternatives to them are to soak the device, so place it in a bucket of chemistry, and that's really not a preferred option because it's unsophisticated, it's uncontrolled, and the risk is to staff that a bucket of solution can cause difficulties for them. But some of our early adopters within the United States who have picked up the TRISTEL ULT product are using it, in fact, alongside their trophon machine. And that's so that they can utilize a high-level disinfectant for all of their probes, the ones that fit into trophon and the ones that don't. So that's the first segment of opportunity for us, which is to use that the clinic uses our product for devices that don't fit into their incumbent method, which is a trophon. There's a second opportunity for us, which is people who hold clinics that have got a trophon, but they just don't like it. It breaks down, it's expensive, whatever the reason might be, that the clinic is dissatisfied with that machine-based process and would prefer to have something different. And we are the only other appropriate and approved high-level disinfectant for the US. So that's the second area of opportunity for us. And the third is for hospitals who are actually not compliant. They're not using a high-level disinfectant for whatever reason that might be. It could be cost, it could be the logistics of adopting a machine, or it could be the space availability that they have. Whatever their reason, they haven't got a high-level disinfectant process in place. Well, we can be a turning point for them. In terms of the timeline that we're following in North America, we have spent the last 4 or 5 years cementing our commercial relationship with Parker Laboratories. They have taken on the manufacture of TRISTEL ULT and also the distribution of the product into the United States and Canadian markets. In June last year, we achieved our FDA approval, and immediately afterwards, we attended the American Infection Prevention Congress, APIC, held in Orlando, where we showed the product. We saw customer responses to it. We took down a list of interested parties, of leads, and in October, when we had gone through the validation of Parker's manufacturing process and we had purchased in componentry, we were ready to dispatch out to those leads that we had garnered the product for sampling. And so that took place in October. We received back that feedback, and which was really very positive. We're delighted with the level of interest and the compliments about the product. So that then in November, we were able to make our first commercial, or Parker were able to make their first commercial sales of TRISTEL ULT to end users. And since then, the product has been, revenue has been increasing, royalties have been increasing, and we're underway. In January this year, it says 23, but it's actually 24, Health Canada approved TRISTEL ULT. Parker will also manufacture and distribute the product into Canada. Their sales team stretches it throughout the North American region, so it'll follow exactly the same pattern and the same process as within the United States. And TRISTEL will receive a royalty on all of Parker's sales, and that's calculated at 24% of Parker's invoice value. So where we are at the moment, our current status is Parker is expanding its national sales force. It's doubling it. And we have established a small office in Boston, and we're transferring 2 of our senior business developers over to the North American office to help by supporting the Parker sales team, to attend conferences with them, to be available to lobby key opinion leaders, attend conferences, and generally oil the wheels as Parker continue with their expansion of the very small but certainly very real user base that they've already established. So next we look at the ophthalmic opportunity. So within North America, we are exactly the same as the rest of the world. The ophthalmic departments within hospitals use devices which touch the cornea. And in accordance with what's referred to as the Spaulding classification, anything that touches a mucous membrane of the body, the cornea being one of those, requires high-level disinfection. Universally, however, within ophthalmology, the devices are only low-level disinfected, and that's simply because there is no availability of a suitable product to high-level disinfect the very small lenses and pachymeters and tonometers that are used within an ophthalmic department. As a consequence, there are risks of infection, eye-related infection, conjunctivitis. We've probably all had conjunctivitis. And in the US, 6 million people annually have conjunctivitis. Well, the devices are a route of transmission. So if an eye clinic has reported to it that its patients are experiencing conjunctivitis, that indicates that there is an adenovirus, the virus that causes conjunctivitis, an adenovirus outbreak within that department, and the department has to close. That's extremely costly to the department, and of course it means that patient lists get cancelled. So we believe there is a significant opportunity for TRISTEL OPH. It is a foam disinfectant. It takes exactly the same form as TRISTEL ULT, but it is designed and instructed for the user to use upon ophthalmic devices. The global sales of TRISTEL OPH in the rest of the world, outside of North America, are in the region of £1 million, and they focus on UK, France, Germany. But we believe that within the United States, there's quite a significant market for this product. We already have it approved in Canada, and we're receiving very positive feedback. When there is a disinfectant available, it becomes a driver for the authorities to enforce the adoption of the appropriate disinfectant practice. If there is no product, it's impossible for the authorities to enforce practice. But now that we have the product launched within Canada, and we hope by the end of 2024 to have the product launched within the United States, then the very significant market, and here we're saying 3 million people in North America have glaucoma, which requires multiple eye examinations through treatment, but there are also cataract examinations and other eye-related conditions that require tonometer and lens examinations. With all of that, this all creates a very significant market for TRISTEL OPH within the whole of North America. So it's another very exciting opportunity for TRISTEL. The progress we've made with respect to the ophthalmic product, as I say, in Canada, we have approval. We have a distributor in place, a company by the name of Interim Medical Ophthalmics. They are our national distributor for the Canadian market. We've got Alberta Health Service was our first user. We now have 24 repeat users across Canada, and we estimate that we've got 12% market penetration. Within the US, our 510K submission will be made in the summer. We expect, we're using the predicate of TRISTEL ULT, for which we followed a de novo pathway. So it's a 510K, much faster process for us with TRISTEL OPH. We have a meeting planned with the FDA on the 6th of March. We assume submission in the summer, and we expect approval by the end of 2024. It's our best guess of the timescale. We haven't yet got a distribution channel in mind. It could well be that Innova can take the product into the United States, as well as doing their work in Canada, or we may look for another ophthalmic distributor. We haven't started negotiations on that yet. But the product will be manufactured by Parker Laboratories, along with any other foam products that we will launch into the North American market. So we've got a stable and very capable partner in Parker Laboratories. So I've been talking about TRISTEL ULT and TRISTEL OPH, and they've been our major product development programs over the course of the last few years. But we also have 3 further work streams that we focus upon in terms of development of new products. The first is our 3T platform. This is an app-based firmware and software program which enables the individual carrying out the decontamination process to have a tool that walks them through each stage of the process. It shows videos so that they can see precisely how they should be performing the decontamination process, so they can train on it. They can also track the process step by step. It captures all of the relevant information of the process, so who the patient is, who the operator is, which device is being used on the patient, and which of our TRISTEL products is being used to decontaminate that device, so that you have complete traceability, providing assurance to the clinician. Well, we've recently launched version 2, and we continue to work on improvements and enhancements to the 3T platform. The second work stream relates to AI, where we will incorporate into 3T an objective verification of the key steps that are performed. So the app will monitor and watch the process, and it will give a stop-go approval for the user, so that they know that the device has been completely covered by the chemistry, and so that they can see that the chlorine dioxide has been properly formed. And then the third element of our product development relates to color change technology, where we're using visual indicators to ensure that the key steps of the decontamination process are performed. So you can view the 3 product development projects as the provision of assurance to the user that their medical decontamination process has been performed completely, and therefore is the equivalent of machine-based processes. As a reminder, 7 years ago, we shared our internal financial targets, and they are currently sales growth in the range of 10 to 15% per annum as an annual average over 3 years, and an EBITDA margin of at least 25%. At the time of our prelims in October, we shared with you that we intended to review these targets and lift the hurdles for ourselves. But as we're going through a CEO succession program at the moment, the board feels it would be inappropriate to set the changes to these targets until a new CEO is in office. So we will review these as soon as the succession program comes to an end. ESG. Well, we continue to focus upon sustainability with respect to both the company and the way that we operate, but also our products. We weave the ESG principles, our ESG strategy, into everything we do. It's absolutely at the heart of the business, and that comes from carbon footprinting. It comes from focusing upon the materials we use and how they are the effects they have when they are disposed of, and right through to the way that our board operates and the way that we treat our staff. So we continue to focus upon ESG. We've continued to put great effort into doing everything we do in the right way. So as a summary, we see this as it is a record set of results on every level. There are significant growth opportunities in both portfolios ahead of us, and we continue to be profitable, cash generative. We are debt-free. We have a progressive dividend, and management, the board, feel very strongly that the company has a very exciting future ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. This is Paul McManus here from Walbrook. We've got a few questions that have come in from investors. If we're happy to take those questions. Just to let you know that as well as Liz Dixon, CFO, being in the room, we also have Paul Swinney, CEO, and Heidi Allard, the Chief Financial Controller and Company Secretary. So they may be able to answer some of the questions as well. One of the questions, I know you talked a lot about America and the opportunities there, but one of the investors was just asking, could you just get a bit of colour and background to the US opportunity and how it arose, and then what the competition landscape's like in the US, and could that really be the game changer that they think it could be?
Okay, so what's the background to the US opportunity? Well, the TRISTEL has been a very successful business around the world, and indeed in this set of results, 20% revenue growth has come from all of the other markets in which we operate. and the product sets that we're selling currently have really only been in existence for the last 10, 15 years, 17 years, something like that. So the US opportunities came about by the fact that we had built the business to a scale that we were able to invest we had sufficient profit to invest in the very significant cost that was required to attain FDA approval. So our product did require FDA approval. We're a medical device, and as a consequence, we had to wait till the right time before we could seek that approval. Before our approval, the only other high-level disinfecting process that was available to the US market was as I mentioned, a machine-based process, which is the name of the device is Trophon, and it is a hydrogen peroxide vapor which is pumped into a chamber into which the medical device sits. Trophon currently captures around half of the high-level disinfecting procedures that are required within the US market. We believe that there are 200 million procedures that take place, ultrasound procedures that take place within the US that require intermediate and low-level disinfection, and 50 million procedures that require high-level disinfection. So we're working alongside Trophon for that 50 million procedures. And we sit very comfortably alongside Trophon, if that is the requirement or the preference of a ultrasound department. There are not every ultrasound probe fits inside a Trophon. So there's an automatic market for us with devices that are too large to go inside a Trophon, and that will be the very first segment of the market that we go for. It's the low-hanging fruit, as it were. There are other customers who have got a Trophon, but for whatever reason they're dissatisfied with it. That opens the possibility for us to step in. Our product does not require capital equipment. It does not require upfront investment. There are no maintenance fees with our product, and our consumable price is equivalent or even lower than a Trophon maintenance and chemistry cost. So there's good reason to move over to a TRISTEL Ult product as opposed to sticking with a machine. And then there's another segment of the market where inadequate practice is performed, for example, soaking the device or using an inappropriate, a low level or an intermediate level wipe or chemical. And in those instances, it's in the customer's best interest, in the hospital's best interest, to find a process that is affordable, that is easy to use, but is as high performing as anything on the market. And we can provide that. So that is who the competitors are, and why hospitals buy our competitors. And our unique selling point, they are very, very clear. The product is mobile. It's a bottle of foam that is applied to a wipe, and it's used instantly. It has a 2-minute turnaround, and then the clinician can move on to the next patient. So it's fast. It is extremely efficacious. It provides the highest level of decontamination that can be achieved without sterilization. So it is exactly what these particular devices require. And it is it's fast, it's efficacious, and it's set at a price point that is appropriate to the market, and it's perfectly safe for the user to use.
Thanks, Liz. There was a question also from another investor about competitors and your unique selling points. So I think that addresses that one as well. Okay.
One
One question: do you make any sales based on word of mouth?
Oh, we make sales based on referral. Absolutely. What you will find within the healthcare industry is that clinicians move between hospitals, and it's very common for us to be called into a hospital where a new infection prevention lead has taken up post. They used TRISTEL in their old trust or their old hospital, and it's absolutely something they would like to bring into their new hospital. So yes, definitely one word of mouth.
If we're still on the US side, another question was about, can you help us understand your market strategy in the US? Does it rely on being cheaper per use than Trophon? In being a $100 million opportunity for Parker TriStel, does this assume taking share from Nanosonics?
Okay, I think I've described the strategy. We've got the three different market potential, the customer segments that we're addressing. Does it rely on us being cheaper than Nanosonics? No, it doesn't rely on us being cheaper. The product is entirely different. It's a manual product, it's much faster, and it is mobile. And these are just as relevant to a hospital as price. And the 100 million, is it part of the...
Sorry, let me get you in being a $100 million opportunity for Parker TriStel, does this assume that you take share from Nanosonics?
No, it doesn't. No, absolutely. That's what's available to TriStel.
Thank you. This is a question maybe Heidi might pick up. There was, let me just find it. The question was, what is the long-term split of revenue growth by volume and pricing, please? And I appreciate pricing is probably not something that you would be allowed to discuss competitive issues. And then there's a question, the second part of the question is about Australasia with plus 5% in revenues. Do you face a lot of competition from Nanosonics? So maybe Heidi, you could talk about growth and how that's factored in regarding volume and price, and then I'll come to Paul and Liz regarding Australia.
But I think it's very much safe to say that future growth will be volume driven, and we obviously have our financial targets of sales growth in the range of 10 to 15% that we will be reassessing later in the year. But I think it's safe to say that we can safely assume those growth rates.
Absolutely.
Very much volume led.
Yeah, we do have a price increase annually, but we generally pitch that at inflation. This year there's been a bit of a jump up, but generally speaking, we pitch price increases to inflation.
And the second part of the question was about Australasia with a 5% increase in revenues. Do you face a lot of competition from Nanosonics? I presume the question is because that's their home market.
Nanosonics operate in most of the markets that we operate in, and even in all of them, even their home market, we outperform them in terms of the number of procedures that are performed using our products compared to using Nanosonics. It's a matter of choice, a matter of preference for the user. Do you want a machine? Do you want to? Do you find a manual decontamination process preferable? And the vast majority of the time, manual beats machine, and simple fact.
Thank you. This is a question just about your share-based payments. There was an investor who's asking, are there any restrictions on your share-based payments, and do you monitor whether the recipients retain or sell them?
Okay, no restrictions on the share-based payments. I think perhaps you mean, are there restrictions on the shares themselves when they have, or the options when they have been issued? It depends on the plan. Certainly for the LTIP for the executives, yes, there are restrictions on holding the shares for a certain period of time, and of course they're target driven. For the all staff share option scheme, there is a hold. There is an exercise hurdle, I think, of 1 year after grant. But apart from that, no, there is nothing. They are all market priced at the time of issue. And it's a wonderful incentive for our our workforce and really aligns the whole business's thinking and attitude and approach to that of shareholders. So we are all watching the share price day by day, and I can guarantee there will be on this call a number of TRISTEL staff who are very excited about how the share price is moving in response to this set of results.
I'm sure they'll be delighted about the news on the doubling of the dividend as well. But one question was, will that be repeated at the end of the year? Is the payment being rebalanced?
It's not a straightforward doubling of the interim and a doubling of the final. The new dividend policy is that for the full year, the dividend will follow the same percentage increase as EPS achieved for the full year, and we with a floor of 5%. So we will always increase our dividend by 5%, but if EPS is increased by more, we will increase the dividend by more. We have a 40-60% split of interim to final, and so the maths worked out that there's a doubling of the interim. It's just a simple calculation.
Thank you very much. Another question: does UV light, the Kronos product, provide an equivalent disinfection to TRISTEL products? Is it a threat, and if so, what's being done about it?
Kronos, the Kronos product is absolutely right. It's a UV light box into which an ultrasound probe is placed. It's available in some of the markets in which we operate, and yes, it is a competitor. Is it an equivalent disinfection process? That's difficult to determine because there currently is not in place a standard, an evaluation methodology that's designed specifically for UV light. So as a consequence, is it Germatech? Yeah, Germatech, who produce the Kronos machine, they have adapted a chemical decontamination standard to modified it to carry out the testing on their Kronos machine. There's a big difference between using a chemical to decontaminate a device and using light to decontaminate a device. And so there are question marks being sort of raised over whether the adaptation that they've made to the standard is appropriate and whether customers can actually rely upon the data that has been created as a consequence. So UV light's a new technology. The market needs to catch up, the regulators need to catch up and put in place a form of assessing its effectiveness. So certainly it's a competitor. Is it a equivalent? Well, we have to wait until there's proper data out there to demonstrate that its performance really is equivalent to chemical decontamination.
Thank you, Liz. A question on margins, and I know that you can't give a sort of cast iron guarantee of what future margins will be, but gross margins for the device disinfectants was 87 versus 85 for the preceding full year.
Yeah.
Are you able to outline what in particular is driving the positive gross margin improvements? And then the second part is, what is the likelihood of gross margins for device disinfectants creeping any higher?
Well, I suppose the obvious thing is price increases. So within the 6 months, there were price increases, which benefited revenue and benefited gross margins equally. We keep ahead of inflationary cost increases and non-inflationary cost increases as well, and so that really is the reason for the increase in this period. Do we expect it will increase up to 90%? I think it's unlikely that we will hit 90%. That's certainly not what we're forecasting. There is a product mix element always to the gross margin. And the larger our medical device product portfolio grows in comparison to the other portfolios which are lower margin, then it can push our reported gross margin up. But will it get to 90%? That's not in my forecast, no.
Thank you. Given the new cash approvals, how do you view the sales growth and gross margin potential for the surface division? Could the division ever match the scale of the device disinfection division? How large is the wider surface cleaning market compared to the device disinfection market?
Okay, well, the surface disinfection market we have valued at 4 million pounds. 4 billion pounds globally. How far do we think we can go with our cash product range? We expect it to, in time, and I'm not going to say when, but in time, we expect it to rival the size of our medical device sales. It is a huge market. The products are they're different. It's a niche for us because we provide a very high level disinfecting performance level, and we can do that at the price of a low or intermediate level alternative product or competitor product. So there is a huge opportunity for us to be transformational in the surface disinfection market. So although it sounds like a big ask to grow our cash market to the size of our TRISTEL market, there is the potential for it. And I don't know what the rest of that question was, Paul.
Right, just bear with me. It was, I think you've covered it. It was how large is the wider surface cleaning market compared to the device disinfection market?
Well, it's bigger is the answer. It's much, much larger than the medical device decontamination market.
What is the price? Sorry, we'll stay on margins actually. There was a question that came through. Are there any economies of scale as volumes ramp up that you can take advantage of?
Well, there's always economies of scale with purchasing, price breaks on purchasing of componentry. There aren't any that really, and other than that, nothing really springs to mind. But just the...
Yeah, I would, if I might chip in there. The economy of scale that is, let me get in front of the camera, that is available to us is that we aren't creating a second sales force to represent the cash products within the hospital marketplace. We, as an organization, we've got some 250 employees, and 1 in 4 of those employees is a salesperson. We've got a sales force worldwide of 65 there or thereabouts. They sell to the infection prevention community worldwide now, and they represent the TRISTEL product range to that community. And now they can talk to the infection preventionists about surface disinfection as well, with the same chemistry. It's acknowledged and has been adopted for device disinfection use. Why not use that same chlorine dioxide chemistry for surface disinfection use if it's at the appropriate price point? And by making a distinction in our branding strategy, we can do our best to avoid TRISTEL and cash cannibalizing each other, which is a very important consideration in the creation of the 2 separate brands. And they are completely different products in terms of form, if not function. So double sales on the same cost base as is represented by that sales force, and that's one very significant economy of scale that will be achieved by this business as we see it develop into the future.
Thank you. What is the penetration of the NHS market for your products?
Well, we measure that by different areas of the hospital. So as an example, our ultrasound business within the NHS, we estimate that it is around about 60-70% of ultrasound procedures within the UK use a TRISTEL product. The ENT market, about the same level of penetration, TRISTEL product used to decontaminate nasendoscopes. And within cardiology for toe probes, T probes, we have a very high level of penetration in the region of 85-90%. So depends where in the market, where in the hospital you're thinking, but we certainly sell into every hospital within the UK. Somewhere you'll find a TRISTEL product. In some hospitals, we are widely used, and in others, less so.
Thank you. The fact that the cutting cachet cash cost per treatment to the client, so cachet by a tank, will gross margins in cash continue to fall? It was 64% in 2018, 56% in full year 23. Does this tell us that cash is the go-to-market strategy needed changing, and that cash is much more competitive in a much more competitive market?
Cash is in a competitive market, certainly. Certainly the surface disinfection market is not willing to pay the premium that the device disinfection market is willing to pay. There are many other disinfectants out there, and the incumbent surface disinfectant product is bleach. It's chlorine tablets, which are very, very cheap. So we've designed our product to be for two purposes. One, to address bleach, which is used to mop floors and clean large surface areas within the hospital. But the other is to be used for damp dusting around the patient. So mattresses, UV poles, trolleys, bedside tables, all of those areas where patients are placed, and they are high touch surfaces. So in that instance, a sporicidal disinfectant is really, really important. Not every hospital can afford to use a sporicide around the patient. They cannot. The use of the product is not appropriate because the alternatives to TRISTEL can be really quite noxious, but it also, they tend to be priced at 5 to 10 times the price of chlorine tablets. So we are bringing our product to market at the lowest possible price to combat the products that are incumbent within for floor cleaning, which is bleach, and near patient areas, which tend to be wipes, and those are plastic wipes pulled out of a flow wrap for continual use. We can rival both of those products and priced at the lower of the two prices.
What is the price difference between, somebody is asking, between tank cash product and the equivalent of, say, 2,000 sporicidal wipes? How much would hospitals save? The saving will be that they can have a sporicide. They can have the highest level of efficacy in their product without taking the price up. So we seek to match our tank pricing to the pre-wetted plastic wipes that are found throughout the hospital. And they themselves may not be sporicidal.
They're not sporicidal. No,
okay.
They're low-level wipes. So we are the offer is increase the hygiene level within the hospital.
Another question, back onto competition, I'm afraid. Why would one of 5,000 hospitals which have already invested in a Nanosonics Trophon want to change to TRISTEL Ultra at an equivalent price per use?
Well, because the machine comes to an end of life stage, which is around about 7 years, and so the hospital then needs to make a new investment in the machine. The hospital needs to also purchase a traceability package through the company, and TRISTEL offers its traceability package for free. And the hospital will incur ongoing maintenance and repair charges for their machine over the course of the following 5, 7, 10 years when the new machine is in place, which they won't have to do with TRISTEL. So quite likely a hospital that's just invested in 10 Trophons is not going to immediately stop using them and switch to TRISTEL. We're not suggesting that. What they may do is bring TRISTEL on board and use it in parallel to their existing machine-based processes. And then over time, we believe that they will see the ease and the appropriateness of the product that we are offering, and there's no need for them to then invest in new machines when they come to their end of life.
Are you able to make some comment on customer concentration? 20% of your medical equipment disinfectant comes from one customer. Is that a single customer? Is it a central NHS buying agency or a large trust? Could you just explain that to investors?
Yes, it is. It is based upon the NHS, and that is our largest single customer.
Okay. How will you account for the 24% royalty income, because it's 100% margin, right?
Mm-hmm, yes.
So if you include it in sales, this would bias gross margin calculations. So will it appear as other income? How will you account?
It won't go into other income. We've had this conversation with our auditors, and they've done their thinking. We've done our thinking, looking through the standards. It'll go into revenue, and it will increase the gross margin as it becomes more significant to the whole.
I don't think you can answer this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Is it likely that Parker will take you over with your very low market price in comparison to American prices?
I'm afraid I can't answer that question, Paul.
There are a couple of other questions that have been asked, and I'm not sure we can answer them. One was asking about Paul's decision to retire. I mean, Paul's been chief exec for 30 years and said that he would stand down in December. I don't think it's... I shouldn't be putting Paul on the spot to give reasons, and he hasn't done so in the RNS. There was also another question about whether current executives have put themselves forward. Again, it's a confidential process in terms of the CEO role. The board have made it clear that they're looking at both internal and external candidates. And I don't think you can say anything more than that about individual people.
No, absolutely. What we can say, though, is that the board has appointed a recruiter to carry out the process. It's a competitive process. It's underway, as far as I am aware, and it'll come to its conclusion when it comes to its conclusion.
And then the final question was from an investor asking whether they can download the presentation slides. They are available on the TRISTEL Investor Relations site. Yeah. They will also be available on this platform, Investor Meet Company, as a PDF that you can download. If you're having any trouble getting hold of the presentation, please email me, the Walbrook team, tristel@walbrookpr.com, and we'll email it over to you. I'll hand back to Investor Meet Company for
Liz, Paul, Heidi, Paul, thank you for answering all those questions you can from investors. And of course, the company can review all questions submitted today and will publish those responses on the Investor Meet Company platform. Before redirecting investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to yourself and the company, Liz, could I please just ask you for a few closing comments?
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you for joining. Thank you for your continued interest in the company. I hope we're delivering upon your expectations. We believe the company is at a fantastic point in its evolution, and we're very excited about the future ahead of us.
Liz, Paul, Heidi, Paul, thank you for updating investors today. Can I please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of TRISTEL PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. Good afternoon to you all.